Before I get started, I would like to do an acknowledgement to country. Um, so I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people from the Eora Nation, on whose land we're meeting this weekend. I'd also like to pay respect to their elders, both past and present, and also give tribute to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples that are here today. Can everyone please put their mobile phones on silent? So that was the very timely interjection from my wife there. So to start things off, I've got 5 minutes that I'm going to talk to you very quickly about something. And then I'm going to turn it over to Pip, who's going to give our opening address. What I wanted to do quickly was give you a background to why we're all here today. So Legal Hackers is a group that was founded about 6 years ago in New York. Since then, it's grown massively, so we've got over 80 different chapters internationally now. We've got over 10,000 members, and it is going gangbusters. The reason we're here is the Computational Law and Blockchain Festival that we're running all weekend. It is very cool. We've got a lot of content. But who are legal hackers? Well, legal hackers are you and me. Sorry, 2 seconds. And pretty much everyone or anyone who's interested in making a change, who is dissatisfied with the way that legal process unfolds right now. We know that we can do better. We see technology out there. We see law out there. And we know that we can put it together to assist people in consuming legal services in better ways. And that's what the point of this weekend is, to put together technologists, lawyers, policymakers, educators, and come up with new and better ways of doing things. So with that, I'm going to now introduce Pip. And I've just got 2 things to say about you first, so give me 1 second. Now, for those of you who don't know Dr. Philippa Ryan, and I'm pretty sure you all do, she is a pretty cool person. Barrister and lecturer at UTS Law, a member of the Standards Australia Blockchain Technical Committee, and a board member at Lander & Rogers. The semester's just kicked off. Pretty busy time for everybody. She's finishing touches on writing a new book. She's a busy person too. So when Pip got an email from Phil Turner here and myself, 16 days ago, we got a pretty crazy response from her when we asked if she'd come and speak at this blockchain festival. We were expecting, as any sane person would do, to say no, disassociate yourself, because there's not nearly enough time to get this stuff done. But the response we got was awesome and completely unexpected. She jumped in with both feet. She said, you know what, this is great, and I want to do this as well. So everything that you see this weekend, from the cups to the content to the catering, Pip's touches on it as well. And we couldn't have done it without her. So with that, thanks very much. Here's Pip.
Thanks, Graham. That's a very warm welcome. Welcome to the Hatchery. This is quite a precious and special place here at UTS. It's a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary space. It doesn't attach to any particular faculty. The university's law school, where I'm a lecturer, has held a legal technology moot here, for example, 2 years ago. First legal technology moot in the world, which is pretty cool. The university has a very, very strong agenda in relation to global outreach, social justice, but also professional practice. So it's in that spirit that we're going to work in the Hatchery today. The law school does a lot of social justice work and also thinks very, very globally and likes to prepare our students for professional practice, which means ethical obligations are thought about, as well as collaborative learning, teamwork, and also an appreciation that it is actually a privilege to attend university, just as it's a privilege to teach at a university. So we're the only university in Australia and New Zealand that's hosting one of these events. I'd like to give a shout out to everyone in Wellington in New Zealand and Auckland in New Zealand. In fact, I think the node is outside of Auckland, but hello to the New Zealanders. Yes, you are ahead of us, but only by time. But we're Australians, we're allowed to do that, sorry. Western Australia will wake up in about 3 hours, but let's be serious, it'll actually be about 5 hours before West Australia gets going, maybe 30 years. Their node is in Perth, and they are actually launching the Perth Legal Hackers for this event, which is pretty cool. But here in Sydney, we've got a bit of heft we want to bring to this, and what I mean when I say heft is I want to bring a little bit of academic thought, collaboration, No buying or selling here, please, this weekend. I know Graham's going to go in detail through the Code of Conduct, but I think it's important. I'm not going to peddle the book I just published, so say no more. I think that was compliant. And I don't want anybody doing any no buts or yes buts. This is a yes and weekend, and that's what collaboration's all about. So keep in the spirit of exactly what we're trying to achieve. I want to thank enormously Amazon Web Services, obviously the Hatchery for providing this space. We have incredible work done by Lush Bucket right at the last minute, which is amazing, providing the catering. So let me just say something about the catering. The catering here will be better than the streamed version of the catering. So anyone who's actually here, enjoy, but it's what we call catering light. This could have been the $2,000 a head event that you would all enjoy even more. It could have been in the grand ballroom of the Hilton, and we could have had 5-star catering, but instead it's free. And it's free thanks to the sponsors, including UCOT and also Cause. And it's only with that sponsoring that we can put on pastries, tea, coffee, very light lunch. I urge you, try really good coffees on Key Street in Ultimo if you're after a real coffee. And there will be lunch today, no lunch tomorrow, and then there will be drinks tomorrow after the symposium. So just while we're getting started, in relation to the symposium, I've got a draft version of the report that we want to produce for everyone at Stanford Law. So Stanford Codex is producing the Stanford Law Journal's special edition for this Legal Hacker Global event. We want to produce a report for it. It's not compulsory, but we want to produce the report. So on that, I just want to introduce my scribes, the amazing students from the Faculty of Law. These guys are all brilliant. If you're looking for future grads, these are your future grads. So if you guys could stand up. Kathy's not here today, but we have Anna, Zahava, Adam, Jolie, and Ethan. And you can see they're all dressed appropriately, so we know exactly who they are. If you've got any queries, they've all got my mobile number. I'm not giving you all my mobile number. You can contact me through them. And thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your assistance. So they'll be here to help scribe tomorrow, but just be aware that during the symposium, if you've got any intellectual property that you don't want to share with the rest of the world, which would include researchers who want to write up your ideas, don't share it. Keep it to yourselves. Everything else is being shared in a collegiate way so that it can go into a report that will be a reflection of discussion. So that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say. I have a list. Okay, look, I think this is just a really nice time to mention that the Hatchery's actually been involved with blockchain since 2015, which in the world of blockchain means forever. And we started with the Koala events in 2015, which was the Coalition of Automated Legal Applications. Then in 2016, blockchain creative clusters, and it's amazing. We've got Chris Young is here, who's one of the founding members of the creative clusters. And then we had last year the blockchain law meetups. Millie's here, Philippa Browning's here. There's a few other people who were involved with that. So it's a really natural process that today we're holding the Global Computational Law and Blockchain Festival. So I'd like to introduce one of the sponsors, John Baird, and I have a gift for John. Let me just grab that before I introduce him. Right, I'm right on time, which is amazing. This gorgeous mug, I'm afraid, is not available for everyone. You have to be as special as John. And what did John do? He came up with the goods. When we asked for sponsorship, we got a yes. So, John, this isn't feathering your own nest. This is from other funds. You'll be pleased to hear. Tell me how to work that one through a trust account. This is for you as a thank you. And thank you to Inkly, who turned that around. Can't say enough about Inkly. You can look them up online, INKLY. They deserve a really strong mention because they produce these incredibly high quality mugs at very, very low cost just for this event, as you can see. So thank you, John. Thank you for being here. Okay. And John's going to say a few words, but thank you everyone and welcome and enjoy. Have fun. Play nicely.
So thank you, everyone. I'm just going to say a few words, I think, to try and set the tone. I'm going to sit down while I do it. Sorry, it's hot in here if you haven't noticed. So I'm John Baird. I'm the CEO of Ultimo Digital Technologies. We're the people behind the UCOT project. There's no selling today, so if you want to find out more about the project, come and see me afterwards. But it is a revolutionary application of blockchain trying to fix the provenance problem and making sure that what the customers receive is actually what the manufacturers sent. We've got a unique take on that solves the problem like nobody else. Add over. So welcome today. what I wanted to do is just sort of set a little bit of the tone from my point of view and a little bit of why we wanted to sponsor and be involved in this sort of event. I'm going to talk a little bit about why we're here, but first of all I want to go over some accounting and a little bit of history. So bear with me, two fascinating topics. The pillar of modern accounting is no doubt, or one of the pillars is no doubt the double entry accounting, or the two-sided journal. In essence, it says for every credit that you've got to have a matching debit, and for every debit, you better have a matching credit. And this way, at the end, the balances should tie up, equal out to zero if everything goes well. And if they don't, you've got a problem and you know that you can go away and work on it. But when this idea first appeared, it was a revolutionary piece of technology for accounting. So when it did it first appear, well, we've got fragments from the book of a Florentine merchant from the year 1211, that's 797 years ago, that show that he was using double entry accounting. The oldest record we have of a full double entry system is from 1340, that's 129 years later, in the Republic of Genoa, where they were using it for the taxes for the whole area. Then in 1458, 247 years after the evidence of its first use, the first book describing the method was written by Benito Cotregulli, I can never say the names. However, that book wasn't published until the year 1573, which is 115 years later. Now, Pip's just published a book, so you can probably relate to a 115-year editing process. It's pretty horrendous. In the meantime, another book was published by the guy who's now credited, Luca Pacioli, from 1494. He published the first book. So that's 283 years from when we first saw the idea to when it was published in book form and you could work on it. Let's come back to a bit more recent history. In 1991, two guys, Stuart Harbour and Scott Sorrento, talked about the idea of encrypted chains. They continued to work on it, but it was largely academic, until in 2008, that's only 10 years ago, Satoshi Nakamoto published his first work on how to create a virtual currency, and in that he described a thing called the blockchain, Space Limited. The blockchain was a new piece of technology that he'd come up with to enable the solution to the double spending problem and to make virtual currencies work. 1 year later, 2009, he implemented it, and the ecosystem's been flourishing ever since. In 2016, a whole heap of companies came together to form the Global Blockchain Forum. And interestingly, according to Accenture, in 2016, so that is 8 years after it first came out, 13.5% of financial services companies had adopted blockchain in some form or another and were using it to start learning from it. So 8 years, we've reached over 1 in 10 financial services companies adopting the technology. That's very quick. So we're here today to have a look at this new technology, to see what's coming and to figure out the legal impacts, how we're going to use it, how it's going to affect life, what colour it should be, how it's going to affect the world going forward. Double entry accounting was described in 27 pages that were pretty easy to understand. Right? But it still took the better half of 1,000 years to be implemented. Blockchain was described in 9 pages that were just as easy to read, a little bit harder to comprehend. And here we are 10 years later, and look at the impact it's having. We're here together as a part of an event that is happening worldwide on the same day, and that's in only 10 years. So I'm absolutely certain that blockchain is going to have a much bigger impact on the world than double entry accounting did, right? Much bigger. And if you think about the impact of that, it's enormous. Much bigger, much faster. So over the next few days, what I encourage you to do is to learn from those around you, listen to what they have to say, but please remember to contribute. Contribute your ideas, but please remember to listen to others. Right? And most importantly, figure out how we're going to take society, the regulators, the government along the journey with us, because that 10 years has been very fast and many of them are having trouble keeping up. And that's an important part of what we've got to figure out how to do with blockchain. But probably the most important thing you need to do over the next 2 days is to have fun. So thank you very much and enjoy the 2 days.
So usually Graham should say something, but he's just sorting out that noise issue. Oh, and he's coming back. There you go. Easy. All right.
Thanks, PT. Okay, so I wanted to quickly talk to you about our code of conduct. I'm sure you're all just going to be living by its terms without even needing to know what they are, but let's go over them quickly anyways, just in case. So, the first one is that we're all here to be kind and helpful, right? That's the entire point of this weekend. Free and open source output, original content, filming, and publication. By being here, we're all agreeing that we're okay with being broadcast live on YouTube, amongst other things. So if anybody does have any reservations about that, if you do have a problem with it, talk to me, talk to PT, talk to one of our wonderful helpers in the white t-shirts over there. But it is something to be conscious of. Business activity restrictions. Pip has touched on this as well, but this is not a business weekend. This is a weekend for sharing ideas, helping each other, discussing. Business pitches and that sort of thing shouldn't take place at this weekend. No legal and financial advice. There's the disclaimer we all need to hear. Well, we can give you information, we cannot give you advice. In the refrain that's been said by young lawyers for decades, I'm sure. Safety and harassment protection. We should all feel safer. None of us should feel threatened by anything. If anybody does feel threatened by anybody else's actions, please do talk to me immediately, talk to PT immediately, or talk to anyone else that you think will be able to make you more comfortable, and we'll address that immediately. And finally, health care and liability. Please take care of yourselves, take care of the environment. If something spills, please clean it up. Let's not create an environment where other people could hurt themselves on the basis of us leaving rubbish or spills around. So that's about it. Now we've got our next speaker coming up, and that's Simon. While we do a quick swap out, are you going to use your laptop? No? You're using mine.